Can you believe that there are some people in this world that did not tune in to the Alliance Vlog podcast? Shame on you!
Shame on you. My name is Ella Envy, and I'm one half of the NWA Women's World Tag Team Champions.
And I'm Kinsey Page, the other half of the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champions.
And you better go listen to the Alliance Vlog. What is it called again?
Podcast, period.
Or you're ugly. Pretty and power approved.
Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio.
Are you ready?
Power. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance. God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party. It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
So like I was saying, I really don't think we should go live because I don't think the fans of the alliance-wrestling.com really deserve us. Especially me. I am way too good for wait. Jay, go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry. What was the intro?
We'll dump that out in post. That's no problem. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal, and with me are the radio star, Mr. Jaden, and then just below me would be Mr. DKM. Jaden, how are you today?
Did you just tell DKM to below you?
Next question.
Better not have.
Anyway, I was definitely joking. I did not mean that I'm better than all of you, even if I am. No, just kidding. I'm okay.
He's all right. He's a good guy.
I don't think they do deserve it. So you go all the way out to these places to get all this news and information and go to these things, and then DK watches all these matches, and I absolutely do zero prep whatsoever, and I'm the star. But I don't think they deserve any of us.
I mean, that's kind of you to say, I guess. DK, how are you doing, brother?
Well, I'm mad that you went live because I was asking you a question, you wouldn't answer it. Now I'm going to have to wait till the end of this because it's not appropriate for...
She had brown hair. She had cool tattoo on her shoulder. She was very sweet and was talking to me about wrestling from the year 2000. So I guess...
like 90?
How old?
I was going to say, what was she, 90? What?
No, I would imagine she was in her mid-30s. She actually told me she used to do apartment wrestling. She didn't call it apartment wrestling. She told me she did customs. I'm like, oh, my God. I go, I know what that is.
Okay, well, you shouldn't have told the story for the mixed company. Hi, everybody. It's a new era.
It is a new era. You know what, guys? I like you. I'm a human being, right? And I have,
excuse me.
I have highs and I have lows. And I have to tell you that trying to spin positive about the NWA when you have a world champion that you do not believe in is not an easy task. It's not easy to say that, oh, yeah, NWA is heading in the right direction when you full know well that the world heavyweight champion is not the guy it should be. Today is a new era because today, my friends, there is a world champion that I believe in. Nay, there is a world champion that I buy into, and that's EC3, Mr. Ethan Carter III, a man who I saw not 4 years ago in my own backyard here in Riverside, California at the Municipal Auditorium, taking on NXT challengers, and knowing where that guy has been and knowing where he wants to go, I have not been more excited about a world's heavyweight champion since Cody freaking Rhodes.
Who? Actually, I was about to say, I've never seen EC3 live, but I have. He was at an event here during the horrible couple of years back that I don't wish to talk about. But
didn't you also see him versus Thom Latimer in a talking fest?
We did.
Well, I didn't count that one.
You tried to put that out of your memory.
Because it was a talking fest, and I wanted to see a wrestling match. I didn't say I hadn't seen him live. I just hadn't seen him wrestle.
I was scared to death when he brought that chair out during the main event. I'm like, oh no.
I think
I knew he wasn't going to hit him with it. I knew he wasn't. He's going to set it up. He's going to talk to the guy. And I was like, no, don't do that. But nevertheless, I really like Mr. DKM's name says right there, it's a new era. I do feel very positive about the direction that the National Wrestling Alliance is heading. I'm going to break a little fab here. And your boy Jay was allowed to kind of step behind the velvet curtain, if you will.
Does Bully Ray know that? Wherever Velvet's dating now.
Yeah, because I think they're split, but
there was an opportunity.
We're gonna get a Velvet and Jay after dark now.
We ain't getting that. But there was an opportunity.
She is blonde with big boobs. She does meet your criteria.
We're gonna get him in trouble. His wife's probably at the door listening to all this.
No.
She probably meets Michelle's criteria too.
Easy now. Okay, so
Jay, what size bra do you wear?
Say what?
What size blonde do you wear? Oh, bra. Either way, it was funny.
Oh, Jesus Christ! They don't.
He can't help you.
No shit. All right, I was.
He has enough not to do these jokes, Jay.
I was at the backstage of party.
Velvet's curtain. He's backstage of Velvet's curtain.
Velvet wasn't there, but Goldilocks was, believe it or not. No, this was on Tuesday night after they had wrapped up the tapings. A considerable amount of the talent was at their hotel, and there was some libations being passed around, and as I sat there looking at this room, and it's all the same familiar faces I've seen anytime I happen to be so fortunate to party with the crew. Mecha Wolf is holding court. You saw Thrillbilly in there. You saw Hoyo. They had to keep those two separated, but they were in the same vicinity. You'd see guys waltz in and out. Got to see Maddie Rinkowski, Misa Kate, and the tag team champion was there. There was a good vibe. It was a cool vibe. A lot of people were there, and got to talk to Joe. Huh?
What was that mean with Maddie?
That's not a gimmick, by the way. It's not a gimmick. So I did tell one of the worst dad jokes I ever said, but nobody else laughed, but Maddie laughed. So I have that I'll hold on to forever. But
you can't not tell it now.
Well, see, I had a few little cocktails myself, and I wasn't exactly like forward thinking, and I said something like, if you have a fear of escalators, what steps are you taking to avoid them? She laughed. I don't care if you know it.
I'm laughing on the inside.
That's what counts.
But the smile is just skin deep.
This sounds like a Joker quote.
It is.
All right, good. But the point I was trying to get to is, as I looked around the room, I did see Mr. Ethan Carter III in with the in crowd. He was down there, not in his hotel room, not at some sort of VIP event. He was with the common man of the NWA. He was with that locker room, and the man was buying shots for everyone in the bar. And
so guess who ran to the bar?
No, I was already there. So your boy Jay got a free shot on the champ. But the point I'm trying to make is that the world's heavyweight champion wasn't, off doing something else. Look, how do I say this? I'm not trying to sound pretentious. I was in China with the crew. In China with the crew, I got to hang out with the talent that was there. So I hung out with Barbie Hayden. I hung out with Reno Scum and Eric Watts. And I hung out with Nicholas Bonanno, who is the referee, and Logan Chenoweth, who is the single American cameraman. And Nick Aldis was there, but he was very aloof. And this was way before he thought I was a ham sandwich eating jabroni.
Before he knew you were a ham sandwich
eating jabroni.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, our pal Fuzz had these made up, and I don't know if it's going to be able to see on camera, but you can kind of see it. Maybe yes, maybe no.
You can't, but I do know what it says because I saw a picture of it.
For those of you who aren't in the Discord.
You're too close. There we go.
So special shout out to Fuzz for getting those made up. We had some of those buttons running around the ham sandwich jabronis. No, but what I found so encouraging was that he was a part of the crowd. He was a part of the scene. He wasn't, again, locked up in his bedroom by himself, or
with 7 or 8 ladies,
or just one.
That was Ric Flair.
Ricky Morton. But yeah, so I felt like he cares. And then you see these promos where he's talking about how he cares, that he feels like this locker room could be a better locker room, and that they're on their way to producing not just a good product, but the best product. And maybe these are empty promises. I didn't feel that way. I feel like he genuinely feels that he, as world champion, and with the roster that is surrounding them, that they can be that next big thing that they've been wanting to be for a couple of years now.
Well, I'm kind of happy to hear that. I think they have the building blocks to make it happen. Now they just need a good architect.
You said that so brilliantly. I couldn't agree more. I feel like, and again, when the NWA is good, you have to give credit to one man. And when it's bad, you have to give credit to one man. And that's the same person. It's William Patrick Corgan. Never
heard of him.
Huh?
Never heard of him.
Oh, Billy? Billy? If this is going to succeed, it's going to take Billy's concerted effort to make it succeed. And if things get hokey or if the booking is inconsistent, it's not going to happen. And
okay.
Okay. Billy Corgan knew DK was going to say something. He messed with his Wi-Fi.
Yeah. You were there, and I read an article today, as a matter of fact, on their new setup and their production, and how their production value, was going to improve, and more of this and that. So anything you can tell us that's not a spoiler type thing, what can you tell us about the setup they had? And it almost sounded like they might have some new equipment too, but I couldn't tell for sure.
Well, the number one thing, and we saw that the pay-per-view, is that jib camera, right? Like I'm a sucker for a jib camera because you get those aerial views, and we saw it on the pay-per-view where the former television champion Kenzie Page dives onto Max, and Max just kind of catches her and throws her, and you could see the camera was literally over my head. It shot over our head, and you could see Max just kind of slammed Kenzie right there. You're going to get better shots like that. I think that's really, really good stuff.
I like the cut of your jib.
Well, thank you. And
I have no other way to use that. I've been waiting to use that phrase forever, and that's the closest I've ever gotten to be able to get that to work.
And so that to me, that's a good thing too. I think now this is the first Power that I've been to since the first Power, if that makes sense. Like I was on the first 2 days of the initial inaugural.
It's also
Power
the last Power since the last Power you went to.
Right.
That's true.
You guys aren't making it easy. I'm already on like only a couple hours of sleep. We're still trying to get through this thing, but that's fine. We'll do it.
You're lucky we're here to come.
No idea how much planning Jaden and I put into this.
Yes. I doubled my prep work for this.
Me too.
You look about as interested as Velvet does on her cell phone during the pay-per-view podcast.
Well, I try.
Well, if you weren't so busy with the curtain, maybe she'd be more paid attention better.
Well,
if you just spit out whatever you're trying to say, then I wouldn't have to get bored.
I keep trying to, but I keep getting interrupted, for Christ's sake. I can mute you guys. That's what I'll do here. I'll just boop and boop. All right. So yeah, we got a new camera with the camera jib, but also in the production in the studio.
We can unmute ourselves.
God damn it. I thought that was a lock thing. Hey, I finally, real quick, because she just showed up, Polka Dot. Oh, that's Sam. Polka Dot Pam came into the house. Pam's here. I got to finally say hi to Pam. We took a couple of selfies. Pam was there each and every night, and she was doing what she does, which is being awesome, being a great super fan. And with her sign with calling Chris Adonis sexy Jesus. And Pam, Pam was there for the production, for the TV taping, so she got to see the enhanced productions. The entranceway looks a lot better. They have some special effects that are going to be on that. I feel like there might be more stuff that they do post-production to kind of keep everyone. That's what I'm looking for. There'll be more effects added in post-production. I think they cut things short to get the tapings quicker because it was literally like 3 hours of wrestling, like back to back to back. There were no like starts and stops. There was like, hey, we need to redo this one. It was pretty efficient on how quickly they tape things, and it was for the next 2 months. That's going to lead all the way up to the next pay-per-view.
8 episodes,
I believe so. Yeah. And and of course, okay, yeah. So here's what Pam said: they filmed entrances before the audience arrived. So that's coming from Pam. So like when the filming started, like the competitors will already be in the ring, which I think is cool. It was good. There was a lot of positive energy in Nashville. Obviously, outside of a few of us, it wasn't the same crowd. One of the most telling things is that Sandoval was in the house, and I actually pulled Sandoval aside and said, "Hey, man, happy to see you back." And he said, either way, the NWA was going to get my money, but if Tyrus would have won the title, I would not have been here tonight. And I thought that was very, very telling.
Yes.
I'm just kind of reading some of the comments real quick. Mike says, okay, you mentioned now more than just the camera. Was going to mention NWA needs more than a new camera with a stabilizer on it. Guys know how to use it. Anyone can buy a jib on a cam. Depends, though, on the cam quality itself. Mike, I don't know if you saw the pay-per-view. I didn't actually watch the pay-per-view because I was there live. But there was a couple of guys I was introduced to. I have a buddy who works on the camera crew, Shane. And Shane was telling me that one of their camera operators used to work all the Saturday night tapings at Center Stage for the World Championship Wrestling.
It's probably the guy that originally did it when they first went through the Atlanta broadcast. When it was a lot better then.
And they had I forget what they're called, but like the little stages next to the camera, so that the cameraman can shoot from there instead of shooting up. They were literally on the same level as the rings shooting in, so I feel like you're going to get a much better look and presentation too. They really did step up their production. I really feel like you if you saw the pay-per-view, you kind of know what the camera system is going to look like, and then the TV when it airs, you're going to see some great looks. I think
World Class actually put them on the apron.
On the apron, the cameraman.
Yeah, which, by the way, they were like among the first to ever do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what you have. Those stages like kind of line up to the same height as the ring apron. So the cameraman's sitting there holding onto the rope with the camera like this,
Yeah. It's just that another good thing about it is limits what they can do outside.
And I will say this, although there was some action on the outside of the ring at the TV taping, most of the action happened inside of the ring. There were some new faces. I don't want to get too much into it. When the NWA post stuff, then I'll share it. I don't want to spoil it because I know a lot of our viewers here on the Alliance Guys podcast, they don't want it to be spoiled or ruined. Plus, I don't like to give everything away either. I think it's more fun when you get to see things unfold. But we did get to see the world champion defend his title.
However, you will sell it.
Huh?
You don't want to give it away, but you will sell it.
I mean, everyone has a price for the $1 Million Man. But all in all, I felt very optimistic leaving the TV tapings. And again, that wasn't a feeling that I had, when we left Crockett Cup or when we left Chalmette. God, Pam's going to kill me. When we left Chalmette, DK, I did not feel as positive about the direction that the NWA was heading as I do now.
All right. I'm going to ask you a question.
Crown Tyrus, I wouldn't feel positive then either.
That's fair.
I have a question. I want you to be honest. Answer this as honestly as you possibly can, and then actually answer it more honest.
Okay.
Should I watch any of the upcoming episodes, in your opinion? Will I enjoy watching it? Will it be a chore to watch it?
I would say it's about 50-50 with you.
Okay.
Because there's some stuff like, look, there's one match in particular, and I'm not going to get into the details, but it's pretty off the wall. It's and I don't know if it was booked to be off the wall or if it just fell apart during the show, but it was featuring good talent, but didn't make a lick of sense. Maybe the story will make sense with production values, with the TV and everything leading up to it, but it wasn't good. There was a special referee involved. I didn't like it. And I don't think you will like it when it airs. But then there were other matches, and I felt like, wow, that was a great match. Wow, that's a good tag team. Wow, I'm happy to see that person wrestling by themselves. Wow, this looks good. Wow, they can do this. So,
wow, it's a woman promotion that soon will have a pay-per-view.
Yeah, we call that the momentum over here on the Alliance, guys. Pat and Penny. I'm going to get rich off of that one. Shut up, DK. I'm right.
Only if I pay you not to say it again.
Well, we
might pay me not to say it.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. So overall, I'm feeling very good about the direction of the NWA.
Okay.
Now, what other questions did you have that I could answer for you?
All right. If a train leaving from Knoxville is going,
I said if I could answer for you. If you're going to throw math at me, we might as well just end the podcast now.
Mine was easier.
What's that?
What's the meaning of life?
Oh, simple.
It's a movie made by Monty Python.
It's a cereal with cinnamon on it, and with milk, it tastes delicious.
Now, I always want to know, why is there life in cinnamon life when there's cinnamon on life?
One of them is extra cinnamony. Speaking of cinnamon,
I would never even try to say that because I wouldn't be able to.
Speaking of cinnamon, she's on center stage now. Get your dollar bills ready for cinnamon on center stage.
I with my cinnamon rolls. Sorry,
I did make
DK,
one mistake when talking about the pay-per-views because confession, I missed the end of the TV title match with Latimer and the other guy, Adonis. And since he didn't come out at the end of challenge, I just assumed he lost because everybody else lost their title.
No, in fact, that's the one thing we can report that Thom Latimer stood tall through the weekend, did not lose his title. The only person not to lose his championship all weekend long. And that was another thing. This, like Pollo said, this was, I like to use the term, it was a strong pivot. Pollo said it was a hard reboot. Like every single champion changed over. And I'm talking like, I don't think the three of us, I don't think any of us thought that Camille was going to lose the title.
Did I call it?
You might have. We'll get to that momentarily.
But I didn't think it was Kerry.
Kenzie.
No, Kerry. I didn't think Kerry was going to lose.
Oh, okay. Yeah, neither did I. I don't think I saw, realistically, I don't think I saw as many title changes as we did see.
The only thing that made me wonder about Kerry, is because they pointed out the fact when the match was starting that Homicide had held it like 100 and something days, and Kerry had already held it 200 and something days. I just remember thinking to myself, it is kind of time for that thing to change hands. But I wasn't necessarily expecting it. Now,
So what are we talking about today, by the way? Is there an actual subject?
Kind of.
We might talk about night 2 if we ever get there. But
well, we're gonna go over our predictions because I feel like we dedicated enough time to it. We're gonna just kind of wrap the predictions up of who was right and who was wrong. Then we'll go into details on night number 2, and then if there's any time after that, then we'll probably talk about what DK's philosophy is on fuel gas stations, whether they should have attendants filling you up or if you should be able to do it yourself.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
I'm from the only state where somebody does it for you, so I guess my opinion is pretty obvious.
I guess also Oregon.
Nope, anymore.
Not anymore.
Nope, New Jersey is the one and only now.
So weird. Okay, so let's real quick. Rusty Loudermilk said, "Came in late, have not watched the NWA in 2 months. Who is the world champ?" And my simple
this guy
answer,
called Tyrus. Have you heard of him? Used to wrestle as the Funkasaurus. He's the world champ right now, Rusty.
no, he's not. No, we want more people to watch the NWA, Jaden. That's the whole point of all this.
Who says we? You, baby. I don't get no. I got no money in this. I got no dog in this. Actually, I only have dog in one show, and it's not even a show. It's an event.
It's an event. I was so going to rip into you on that one. All right.
I was setting myself intentionally on that one.
All right, let's go. So for the
All right,
21-man battle royal, that actually happened on night number 2. So we'll hold off on that. The number 1 contenders match for the U.S. tag team titles, DK and J Cal both predicted that Tyrus and Daisy Kill would walk away as the number 1 contenders, and we were correct. The Fixers ended up losing yet again. Also on the pre-show, Jaden predicted that Jordan Clearwater, along with myself, would win, and DKM predicted.
You won also?
Huh?
You won also? You were in the match?
No, you and I had.
Did I predict you were going to be in the match?
You and I
might have. You predicted some weird shit.
I did. That's what I was asking.
None of us saw Joe Alonzo getting the victory on Homicide, and that was kind of a shock to me. I was very blown away by that.
I saw what they were trying to do. I want to comment on that one real quick.
Go for it.
I saw what they were trying to do. However, with the passing of Terry Funk and a Homicide paying tribute, I probably would have called an audible on that one and changed it. And done something else to help get Alonzo over. I mean, I saw what they were trying to do. Probably wasn't the right night to do it.
Next.
Then the no rules match. That one was kind of scary, and I'll tell you guys. I know we're not covering night 1, but I think this is significant to speak about. Tim versus Jack Stain was a very scary few minutes because one thing that you always look for when a wrestler appears to be injured is the referee throwing up an X. And that's pretty universal. You see it everywhere. And they don't typically throw up an X if it's a work.
Unless you're WWE.
Say that again?
Unless you're WWE.
Fair
enough.
I
think AEW does it too now. So
okay. I haven't seen a lot of it, and I'm limited to what I actually watch in terms of wrestling. So I didn't see the X go up. I watched as Tim Storm laid in the ring, and his head was never really touching the mat. Now, someone told me that he had some issues with his back where his head never touches the mat, but it looked like he was trying to get up for a while without any success. Then we saw Jax come over and trying to stall for time, and he went to punch Tim, but these were punches that didn't even connect with Tim. Even if they were soft paw punches, he was hitting the mat with open hands. Like there was no contact with Tim at this point. And I thought that was like very interesting as I'm watching this unfold, because again, if it was still part of the show, he would at least have contact, right? There was no contact at all. And the referee and and Tim were speaking, but I was front row. I could not hear what they were saying. And then
we could see from that camera you were talking about, we could see that Tim was talking to Jax, and it was very, in the confusion, I was literally getting ready to text you and go and ask it, can you tell if there's a reason he's just laying there? I mean, is it legit, or
when Jax threw him, like he fell kind of funny, and not funny, haha, but funny, like ouch. I think he might have really gotten hurt. Jax was launching him, and there's not a whole lot of guys that could launch somebody on that roster, but Jax Dane certainly is one of those guys, and he very effortlessly was tossing Tim Storm around the ring. And I'm not saying he did anything dangerous. I don't think he did anything that would have hurt anybody else. I think it's just, Father Time is undefeated, and he got to Tim, and I don't think any of that was intentional, of course. But it was a scary few minutes. The fans didn't know what to think. Then you saw, Trevor and Tyrus walk out, and that's when I'm like, okay, they don't walk out if this is a shoot. But the whole time, too, you had Chris Silvio, who I don't think was aware of what was going on, trying to give Jax a chair, trying to get Jax to continue beating up on Tim. And, of course, that wasn't happening. And I don't think he was smartened up to what was going on. So it was really kind of very uncomfortable. And then Jax never left the ringside area. In fact, he came over and relieved Tyrus of his duties and helped Tim Storm to the back, and it was scary. The Tim did roll over onto his front, but if you know anything about spinal injuries or neck injuries, that's the last thing you want him to do is move. So it was very scary.
When they took the camera off him, that's when we knew for sure that it was real.
Yeah, and we never knew that ringside.
Yeah.
I never knew what for sure was going on. And they did have EMTs come out and check on him. But he walked out on his own. And, of course, it sucked because that match had some significance for going forward for the NWA. But, obviously, Tim's safety was a hell of a lot more important than any storyline. So, luckily, he's okay. He wasn't at the television tapings the following Monday and Tuesday. But he did post to social media that he was a little beaten up, a little sad that the match didn't happen, but ultimately he's okay. So,
I don't know if they told you guys at the show, but later on in the TV thing, they gave an update, and they said he suffered a stinger to his neck and shoulder.
Here's the thing with professional wrestling: you could do everything absolutely right, and people still can get hurt.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, he was grabbing at his fingers. And, if you're trying to get feeling back in your fingers like that, obviously that's a good indication that there's some sort of stinger. And apparently this had happened to Tim a couple of years ago, and he got feeling back in his body sooner. And that's kind of what he was waiting for, is that feeling to come back. I think his intentions were to conclude that match. But obviously after so much time, the referee just called it. And I'm disappointed that he got hurt, because obviously I wanted to see that match like everyone else. But at the end of the day, I'm much more happier to know that he's going to be all right than the conclusion of that match.
Right.
So that brings us to the next match. And these aren't necessarily in order. These are just how we took down the notes. The Brothers of Funstruction, we all concluded that they would beat Magnum Muscle. We were right. We all agreed that Pretty Empowered would walk away as women tag team champions. I know that was night number 2, but we were right. We'll get to the Burke Invitational. Allison Kay. No, I'm sorry. You know what? Real quick, let's go back in time a little bit. I skipped over one. The Jubilee Jamboree. Jaden said Alex Taylor. DKM said Koana Laksamana. I said Jack Cartwheel. So I got that one right.
That's pretty good.
Huh?
I said that's pretty good to get one like that right.
Yeah. It was. And what did you think of that match?
Okay, I'm going to say this about the pay-per-view overall. I felt that there were a lot of sloppy spots. And throughout the pay-per-view, I noticed a lot of kind of sloppy spots, but none of them were to the point where it kept me from enjoying what I was watching.
That's fair.
And so, sometimes when we've been at this as long as we have, we notice things whether we want to or not. And so, like, I noticed a little bit of sloppiness, but it never stopped me from enjoying it. I'm not the biggest fan of people matches, but I thought it went rather well. There was kind of enough. It was battle royal-ish, and it worked for me. So, really, it wasn't until this thing that the one that I wanted to win while watching it was Vines.
Vine had a very, very good weekend as far as what I liked about seeing that guy. Not necessarily, setting the world on fire, but he has a great look, and it almost felt like he shouldn't even be in the junior heavyweight division.
Yeah, I mean, he did look big, but he, of course, their junior heavyweight is bigger, and with so many worked weights, we forget what a legitimate 225 pounder looks like, and they're bigger than we think.
By comparison, today I was watching Derby City Wrestling, and I got to see Danny Limelight taking on Moose, and they listed Danny Limelight at like 196 pounds and Moose at like 300 pounds, and I'm like, Danny is the world champion taking on guys who are 300 pounds. Matt Vine is maybe a legit 205, maybe closer to 215, and he'd be way bigger than Danny. That's not to talk shit about Danny or anything, but just the difference in size.
Well, and this didn't come until quite a bit after he had lost the title. But I remember talking to Kevin one time, because Kevin was normally billed anywhere from 180 to 200, kind of whatever. Well, he spent most of his reign as junior heavyweight champion, 165 to 175.
Yeah.
And, we get used to looking at him, and we go and hearing those weights, and it was, we forget. Well, not like Tully Blanchard. We forget that Tully Blanchard was 190 pounds soaking wet. We forget that Jimmy Garvin was 205 pounds soaking wet. Yeah, well, he may have been more soaking wet because of all that hair. But anyway.
Sad that he has none of it now.
Yeah, he's the Burke Invitational. Obviously, we didn't have the list of all the names, and the person who Jaden said MJ Jenkins. DKM said CJ, and I said to be determined. So I'm going to technically give myself a point for that one.
Only half. Because you said it was also going to be like a name that hadn't been announced yet.
Well,
or an outsider
from the outside.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, fair enough. That brings.
They had to get the building from somewhere. They had to get the building from the outside.
That brings us to the outdoor, the open challenge. Matt Cardona.
The winner was already inside.
There you go. I'm going to give DKM credit on this one because he said it was going to be a mid-card guy. It was Ricky Morton. And if there's anyone that's mid on the roster, it's Ricky Morton.
Hey, I'm curious.
Maybe mid-70s.
Anybody who watched, did you actually pay attention to this? I'm not going to say what I did during the match, but went and used the restroom.
Apparently he would say it. So wait, you're saying Ricky Martin's mid? Is that like what, mid-70s, mid-80s?
Shit. Carrier's never coming back on here. What were you about to say, DKM?
No, I mean, sorry, Carrie. But yeah, I mean, we've said it before. We don't need to see Ricky in the ring anymore. Seeing him in the ring is starting to become like seeing Ric Flair.
Starting? Starting?
Very much the same. And it's just, I don't understand why they won't stop. I mean, I realized they were trying to do something to set up Kerry for the next night, which we'll talk about in a bit, but it was just like, find another way to do it. I mean, just have it be Alex Taylor. I mean, something, you know.
Look, I wanted it to be anyone. I wanted it to be Mike Knox. Jaden thought it might have been Dustin Rhodes. I guess it's better that it wasn't any of those guys. I guess it was better that it was Ricky as opposed to
Rolando.
Yeah, I mean that was my fear as we're sitting there, is like that it was going to be Rolando, and I was like, I'm not going to be okay with this, you know.
Kegs the Gimp.
He was there, by the way.
Yeah, that made me sad.
Right enough to break the camera.
You said it, and the camera just turned off. Look at that.
Camera cried.
And this is what it sounds like when cameras cry. Okay, so then the next matchup would be the World Junior Heavyweight Championship. All three of us predicted Kerry would retain, but Colby went over. In the women's title match, Jaden was still on Team Kenzie. DKM and myself were on Team Max, and they won. The men's TV title match happened the next night, and Jaden thought Adonis was going to win. Latimer did win, so DK and myself were correct. In the national championship triple threat match, DK and myself predicted Kratos. Jaden picked Odinson, and Thrillabilly ended up winning, so we all missed out on that one. We all correctly identified that La Rebellion would lose the tag team titles to Blunt Force Trauma. And I was yeah, but I was surprised that it was without interference from the Clowns. They lost cleanly. I mean, not necessarily cleanly, but they lost without interference from the Clowns.
Right, yeah. Not clean, but...
And then Jaden correctly predicted... No, excuse me. Jaden mistakenly predicted Markova would win the World's Women's Championship. DK and myself were correct on that one.
When you were at the party, did Markova bring the pole?
I didn't. Markova was not at the party. We did not see Markova.
Was the pole there?
There was a guy who was really skinny.
That probably would have worked.
Probably would have loved Markova dancing on him.
So then, as we go through for night number 2, we'll just go. We'll talk about our predictions as we review night number 2. And do you guys want to start with the pre-show, or should we just jump onto the full pay-per-view?
No, let's start with the pre-show because I don't remember what was on it.
Neither do I. I missed.
I know, but I'm not telling either of you.
I don't think you really do know. I know one of the pre-matches, I don't know if it made air or not, was Soda Pop. Soda Pop taking on Eric Jackson, and he won with a suplex.
No,
So
I don't remember that.
that might not have been made it to TV. Let's see. Okay, here it is.
Did Soda Pop fizzle out?
So here the pre-show was Natalia Markova defeated Taylor Rising.
Was that Triple H and Drag?
Yeah, here it is. No, here it is. I've got the order of it now. So it started off with the United States Tag Team titles on the line. Daisy Kill and Talos versus the Country Gentlemen, AJ Kazana and Anthony Andrews. We all thought that the Country Gentlemen were going to win. Well, Jaden said the Fixers, but because the Fixers did not advance, his prediction was incorrect, and so was mine and DKM's. We had kind of an upset where Talos and Daisy Kills won those tag titles. What do you remember about that matchup, DKM?
I heard he beat that one guy so much that he's gone from the company, just chased him right out.
You know? He did take a pretty hard choke slam.
Yeah.
I mean, it was what it was. It wasn't the best match on the card. It didn't stink. I was surprised the title changed hands when I saw Daisy Kill, and which, by the way, change your name, dude. And Talos, with the titles, I kept thinking, Firebreaker, Chip, and whoever the other guy was that he held the tag team title with.
Chris Champion, but I always joked around it was Firebreaker Chip and Chip the Firebreaker, where they were the tag champs.
Firebreaker, Chip, and Todd Champion. The Patriot Todd Champion, I think, or something like that.
I think together they were called the WCW Patriots, and it was originally supposed to be 4 of them, and one of them was going to be Shaska Watley as a mailman, and I don't know why, but I really thought that would have been awesome. Which is funny because Firebreaker Chip's original gimmick and his profession was a real mailman.
Was Special Delivery Jones a mailman, or was that a euphemism?
I know he was never a mailman. He just delivered the pain.
What was that? What was that special delivery?
I don't think I want to know.
All right. So the next matchup was, like I mentioned, Natalia Markova defeating Taylor Rising. Now, Taylor Rising was part of the Burke Invitational the night before. It was a nice, clean victory for Natalia Markova, who, she had a very rough night the night before that women's match. We didn't really talk about it, but that was an intense brawl. I didn't know it was going to be a no-rules match walking into the pay-per-view, and those women really beat the ever-living shit out of each other. I mean, you could see Markova's back. I don't know if the cameras picked up on it, but in person, you could see red welts all over her back from the kendo stick. When they were hitting each other with the keyboard, you saw the buttons flying across the room. And as somebody, believe it or not, who's been hit by a keyboard before, that doesn't feel good. It doesn't. The spear through the table was intense. All in all, that matchup was crazy. So just to see Markova go out there and have even a decent match, I think was a huge victory. But she had a pretty good match with Taylor Rising.
And you say that's not Triple H and Drag, right?
It's definitely not. Although if she was a game, I bet you would like to play her. Next up was the National Heavyweight Title number 1 contendership battle royal. This featured Jordan Clearwater, Blake Bulletproof Troop, Brady Pierce, Cody James, Dak Draper, Gags the Gimp, Jake Dumas, Jax Dane, Jay Bradley, Joe Alonzo, Judeus, Ko'oa Laksamana, Matt Vine, Mims, Robert Anthony, Rolando Freeman, Rush Freeman, Sal the Pal, Truth Magnum, Turbo Floyd, Wrecking Ball Legursky, Zion, and the one that none of us would have predicted, Zicky Dice. DK, tell me why you hate Zicky Dice.
He breathes? No, he's just one of those that he always annoyed me. The first time he was there, he was kind of doing enough that I was like tolerating him. He was growing on me kind of like fungus. And, but after I took the medicine from the doctor and everything, I felt much better. And I don't, kind of with him like I am with Kerry Morton. I think there's more fluff and hype than there is actual talent.
Whoa. All right.
And so, yeah. Sorry, Zicky.
Yes. Do you and him have heat?
It's not that I don't love you, but I don't.
If you're reading this, you have heat with Zicky Dice, apparently. Zicky Dice, to me, is a guy who I've got to see a lot of the maturation of his career. I remember the first time I saw him was against Tim Storm in a non-title match when Zicky had a hell of a lot less tattoos and probably weighed close to 70 pounds more than what he does now. And that's not to beat him up. I mean, he looks great as far as I'm concerned. I always kind of found it ironic that Nick Aldis challenged his fitness, but if you would have saw where Zicky Dice was to where he became in the NWA, it's a huge transformation, one that should be celebrated, not not put down. I thought Zicky Dice looked great then. He looked even better at the pay-per-view. I feel like he's in probably the best shape of his life. And I think going forward, you're going to hear a lot about Zicky Dice in the upcoming weeks. Were you surprised that Jordan Clearwater won the match, Jaden?
No, because he should have, and that's why. Actually, I guess because he should have, I should have been surprised. But Jordan Clearwater, out of everybody listening, probably the one with the most potential for a singles wrestler, in my opinion. Even though his hair, from the pictures you sent me, his hair looks kind of weird.
No, his hair is definitely kind of weird. I don't like it, but he doesn't have to answer to me. DK, what did you think about Jordan Clearwater pulling this one out?
I felt ever since the thing with Idle Sports Management where he got kicked out or whatever, I feel like they're finally using him the way I've always felt they should, which is not as a goofball. You know what I mean? He's been a more serious wrestler. I was a little bit worried that they were going to go with the obvious since it was Idol's national,
Right.
whatever, which made no sense. But, since it was his, that they might go with the obvious and put Scion over. But I'm really, really hoping Scion goes away. I mean, we don't have Scion anymore. And I have nothing against the wrestler that's under the mask. Jay updated me on who that was, and so I do know who it is now. And I have nothing against that. So that's not a shot at the wrestler. I'm fine with the wrestler being there. I just kind of like Gimp. I'm fine with the guy that's under the mask for that being there. I'm tired of some gimmicks.
DK just has an issue with people with mask gimmicks that given to him by Billy Corgan.
Yeah, with the way they've been booked, yes, I will say I have.
I'll say this as far as the Battle Royal goes. Jaden incorrectly picked Paul Del Mar. DK.
I was robbed. It would have been, but I said it and they changed it. Controversy
creates cash. DKM said Gags. Gags did not. I said Brady Pierce, and he was eliminated a lot quicker than I thought he would be. But the significance of this Battle Royal is we saw two groups break up. In the Battle Royal, we finally saw the Freemans and Brady Pierce end that relationship as Brady Pierce took advantage of Freeman and eliminated him, and then also would attack his partner Rolando and toss him on to Rush, thus ending that relationship. And we also saw Bulletproof and Chris Silvio worked against Jax Dane to kind of force the hand that pushed him out of the Savages. So I guess from that Battle Royal, besides declaring Jordan Clearwater the number one contender, we saw two guys get kicked out of the groups that they were in.
Yeah, one quit.
One quit and the other one got kicked out.
I didn't really. My problem with the Spectaculars is that they could have split them up anytime in any way, and nobody really would have cared. So, I guess theoretically speaking, it might make something interesting if there's a feud between Pierce and Freeman. I don't know that it will, but I suppose that it could.
Wait a minute. I'm confused. You're saying Billy Corgan broke a tag team up?
No, never. He would never do that. Billy loves tag teams. And, but yeah, I thought that, they were obviously night one. Looks like they're setting Jax up for some kind of run. So, or at least fingers crossed, that's my hope.
Well, I mean, I think I could speak for the three of us, and a motivated Jax Dane who has something positive to do on the roster is always going to be a fun Jax Dane. And, the only titles he hasn't held as an NWA heavyweight are the U.S. tag titles and the television title. And I don't know if there's a possibility of those coming to him at some point before he decides to retire. But I, just for the fact that he's the only person I can see doing it, would very much like to see him capture all those belts and have been like the true Dane event of the NWA. That brings us to the pay-per-view. Night number 2 of The World is a Vampire. And
a vampire.
Excuse me. Jeez, I'm sorry.
You are
brings us to night number 2 of the 75th anniversary pay-per-view. We get the show kicks off with the world's television title on the line. Thom Latimer and Chris Adonis. I really like this match. I think this was the perfect match to start your pay-per-view off. I felt like I couldn't tell. I don't think it only had a 6:05 minute. I don't think it only had a 6:05 time limit, as the match felt like it went a lot longer than that. I kept thinking, like, well, they're going to have to ring the bell here because we're going to have a no decision. And no decision still benefits the champ. But no, they went through finish, and Thom Latimer won with his, what we're calling, at least on this channel, the latitude adjustment, that arm breaker crossface. What did you think of the match, DK?
Well, as I said earlier, I missed the end, but I probably saw most of it. And, I enjoyed it. It was what I was expecting out of people at that level and caliber. And so it was, the parts I saw were good. I didn't see the setup for it because I hadn't watched Power recently. But they did a good job of explaining why it's happening, what happened, and everything like that. So, it fit. It was in the right spot. Did well.
Jaden, what do you do now with Chris Adonis now that his last 2 big matches on pay-per-view, he loses the world title, or he loses a match for the world title. He doesn't advance far in the Crockett Cup. And then he loses the TV title on night number 2 of the 75. Where does Adonis go from here?
You send him to Japan or far away and have him learn a new hold and come back with a slightly modified gear and a little bit of a different haircut and a change, maybe a facial hair, and maybe a manager, and repackage him. Just give him some time to be missed. Come back with something special and new, and focus on that. I don't know if he's part of the tapings at all, but again, that's what I personally would do, because I think unless he's being signed somewhere else or unless he's injured and retiring, he is more talented than a lot of people have ever given him credit for, and I think he is a good hand to have in the NWA.
I don't think I'd send him away, but I do feel like he needs something else. And maybe he does need a manager. Maybe he does need a tag team partner. Maybe he changes direction, but he's still a phenomenal talent. I don't think at this point you could really throw him back in a world title match because of the fact that it's kind of gone downhill. Pam is pissed off at you, Jaden, by the way. Pam is the super fan for Chris Adonis. So she's like, how dare you send him away?
What about if I send him to your house, Pam?
That might change her whole attitude.
Yeah, we might not get Adonis back. That's the problem.
Don't hobble him. That's all we ask.
You ever see the movie Misery?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm picturing at the moment.
Pam would never do such a thing. She's a sweetheart.
Anyway, I'm going to agree more with Jaden. And I guess if you want a positive to their TV taping schedule not being so, being very often, is you leave him out of 2 sets of TV tapings and he's gone 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
And anyway, Pam, to make a quote on your comment, you could still do everything that was done in the movie Misery and treat him better than the NWA has. So
there's some truth to that. And has Pam seen Misery? Pam, have you seen it? So the truth is, he needs something different. They've had him face, they've had him heel. He's not really gotten that over with the crowd. Now, a lot of that's NWA's booking because we never know what anybody is.
I feel like, and she says, "I haven't. I'm no Ann Wilkes." I'll say this. I feel like
anyway.
I feel like if the NWA and that AAA relationship was stronger, I feel like putting him in a program with somebody from AAA to keep him outside of the title picture, but to keep him strong. And I mean, like somebody of value in AAA, like maybe a Psycho Clown or maybe a La Parka Jr., having that kind of a storyline, a feud between the two promotions could kind of help bridge the gap between the two, but also explain why Adonis isn't, challenging for that national title or the world title or anything like that. And he could have like a mission, a side quest, if you will, while kind of building himself back up for that world title run or a world title opportunity.
And that's certainly an option, but Adonis has been around since the return, or was he there even before the return?
No, the return.
So, he's been there from the return. It's been a few years. That was the great thing about territory days. You didn't realize, but, rosters turned over pretty much every couple of years.
Every couple of years, except for a couple of wrestlers every 6 months.
Well, there were wrestlers that would come and go throughout, but I mean, you could almost have a completely different roster within 2 years.
Usually, I need to change the booker,
and that did happen sometimes.
Yeah,
or sometimes the booker just decided to go back to the other side of Tennessee.
This is pathetic.
So, anyway,
This is pathetic.
This is pathetic.
Thank you, Ella Envy, for the sound drop.
But getting back to it, I think I would like to see, and we talked about this one time before, even back when Kevin was on the show. I would kind of like to see, him go away for a while and, come back with like a buzz haircut, longer facial hair, and I'd like to see him like a mean guy, like who Judas was supposed to be versus how they actually used him.
I don't know. I'm thinking now I could probably work with this sexy Jesus gimmick. Give him a bedazzled robe. Have him walk on water as part of his entrance.
Would he work as what was his name that was part of Raven's flock? Stevie
Richards.
Yeah, would he work as Stevie Richards Superstar?
Yeah, I could see that.
Superstar Stevie Richards. Do.
Right.
Was
it a white robe? But he'd come out with the robe and the hands up and the long hair and beard, and
I think we could Billy Graham him. And I mean Superstar Billy Graham, WWF champion, not tie-dye or Ninja Billy Graham.
Yeah, I mean,
Kung Fu Billy Graham.
Anyway, I could see him working the Stevie Richards Superstar gimmick. The Chris Adonis Superstar type.
I think one of the interesting things about this new version of the NWA is that there's options. And there were options before, but I feel like realistically, we just came up with 3 or 4 ideas of what to do with Chris Adonis, where I felt like 6 months ago, he had to be in the world title picture because you didn't have anyone who was even remotely close to being there. Now, with the evolution of EC3 and the fact that, Tom still has his Lucky 7 and there's been some proliferation of the roster, I feel like you don't need to put Adonis into that picture. You could pull him back into it later down the road. And
I got an idea. I will have him come out with loaded sequins and a major robe, and have Pollo come out as more like a showgirl, Vegas showgirl style, and have a big, huge, fancy superstar entrance with the big robe and a tiger, something totally out of Las Vegas.
Like a Liberace?
More like a Siegfried and Roy, but without it being mauled.
Well, that tiger's going to get pretty expensive after 1 or 2 tapings.
They only need it. Well, yeah, but one taping 6 months.
It's true.
Roswell isn't over with your guys' upgrades to Adonis. What if
Because
you
most
had
of them are
Gags-
joking until my serious one. But seriously, Pollo is a showgirl coming down with the lights and the big sequin robe and looking like something out of Elvis's Ric Flair, Liberace, and Elvis's yard sale.
That
What
would
if
be
you
scary.
what if you had Gags the Gimp dress up like a tiger?
Well, that could work. Well, I think the key is, here's the thing. I think he needs a change. And I think the more he changes, the more necessary it's for him to be absent for a while. What I don't like sometimes that they do today is that, today I'm Apollo Crews, and tomorrow I'm Apollo Crews and I'm Nigerian and I have a Nigerian accent. And I do that for a couple of years. And then after I disappear for 6 months, I'm Apollo Crews again with, talking normal. I think if they're going to change, there needs to be a reason for it. And, not just, today I'm going to be a different gimmick. I think if you go away and stuff like that, and then you come back and you talk about,
how can we miss you if you won't go away?
Can't miss him. Yep. And so if you go away and they come back and, that he's been on a voyage of self-discovery. I don't know. He's changed he's changed some, but I don't know a whole lot. And, so if, he went on a voyage of self-discovery and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, these are just ideas being thrown out. I'm not saying it has to be any of these.
I have a better description of what I want. Take Bobby Roode's description entrance for NXT and turn it up to a 12 and give Pollo with that gimmick. Glorious,
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think there's something to what you just said. I think that would be kind of actually very interesting. But let's move
Pollo,
on.
if you're listening, kill Billy Corgan and have me replace him.
No one has to kill anybody for you to have these ideas.
They can have the ideas, but doesn't mean they're going to do them. But if you kill Billy Corgan and just dress up as Billy for when I need to pay the bills.
There's all the paperwork, and the cops are going to come harass me and go,
you have to figure out
and he threatened, and
we just need to find a way to replace them. Anybody know where to get a body snatcher?
Yeah, you see, that's better. Hey Jay, what else happened on the paper?
This is pathetic.
Stop talking the pathetic line, Jay. That's pathetic. Now,
every time he steps on, every time he puts it, I think he steps on a cat.
There is some sort of weird meow sound to it. And it was something I recorded while they were doing the TV taping. I don't know why it sounds like a meow, but it does sound like a meow for sure.
Speaking of them,
that brings us to the tag team titles. See, you guys are talking about Chris Adonis, but we could be talking about Ella Envy, who celebrates her 23rd birthday today. Everyone from the Alliance wishes Ella Envy a happy 23rd birthday. I hope she has a wonderful evening with her boyfriend and her friends.
Some of us more than the others.
Yeah, I was going to say
one of us more than the other two.
Really does.
Yeah.
We're wishing Ella Envy a very happy 23rd birthday. Now, a three-time NWA Women's Tag Team Champion has held that belt with Kenzie Page, held the belt with Roxy, and now holds it with Kylie. That's pretty phenomenal considering the fact that she's 23. I really feel like that's a big deal and should be recognized as something kind of cool. Like, she's a three-time champion. How many people on the roster can say that they've held the title 3 times?
She's also in every other.
Yeah, you're right.
Literally. It started out with the Hex, then Ella and her teammate, then the Twins, and then Ella and her second teammate, and then M95, and now Ella and her third teammate. So she's been every other champion.
If Kenzie Page is the Ric Flair of Pretty Empowered, would that make Ella Envy the Arn Anderson?
Boy, I get to thinking those ways, but
I think Bobby Eaton would probably be more accurate, though.
yeah.
And if she gets half as good as Bobby Eaton, then that's a serious compliment.
For the record, we all predicted that the Pretty Empowered would win those tag titles. It was a good, hard fought match, and I'll be honest, I'm becoming a very big fan of Misa Kate. I drove with
Banks.
Yeah, I drove with Dave Scooby. Actually, drove us to Columbia, Illinois, where not only did we have Emo's Pizza, which has now been ruined for me because someone said it was like communion wafer pizza, but also we got to see a little bit of the Wrestle Max St. Louis. We saw the whole show, and I was very happy to see Misa Kate there. She was repping the NWA with her tag team title. She was wrestling for the interim WrestleMax Women's Championship, which she did not win. That would go to Shazza McKenzie. But it was a very fun match. It also featured Tootie Lynn Ramsey and another girl who I'd never heard of before that wasn't that good. But the other three were really, really good. And it was a good match. And watching Misa Kate in that environment, it's been a while since we've seen her in a singles one-on-one match because most of her matches have been with Maddie as a tag team. You forget how good she is as a singles competitor. And I kind of hope that they put her more on a singles path now, maybe potentially challenging Max down the road for the TV title.
Good.
But let's talk about the tag team match. DK, you got to see it on pay-per-view. What did you think of it?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. I did. And I thought it went the way it needed to go, and thought the right team won, especially under the circumstances.
One of the things
I thought they were going to win beforehand, and then when Kenzie won the Burke or whatever,
the Burke Invitational.
Yeah, then there used to be a cup that went with that. Anyway,
yeah.
Was it a cup, a B cup, or a C cup?
Double. Anyway, that being neither there nor here. Yeah, I mean, when Kenzie won, you saw what they had to do. I mean, you saw what had to be done, and so that was the first step. It was a good match. I enjoyed all four ladies. Again, a couple sloppy moments, but nothing that kept me from enjoying the match itself. Really enjoyed it. I will say the women's matches, title matches, all the women's title matches were some of the best matches on the show. Probably 4 out of the top 5 or 6. I mean, we always know Camille, is typically in the top match of the card, but it just didn't change anything. This was probably the best tag team match on the show.
I was hanging out Sunday night after the show was over, and Thrillbilly is a guy who is very outspoken, and I don't think he fabes anybody. I think he says legitimately what he's thinking, and he saw Kylie and told her that her match was great, which I thought was kind of cool to hear, like one talent compliment another talent. And then he said the most hilarious thing I ever heard. He goes, "What kind of pants does your dad wear? Because he must have really good jeans for you and your sister." And I popped for that one. It made me laugh.
I have a feeling it's going to end up on a
T-shirt,
Instagram page very soon.
Excuse me, I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit, so I'm gonna let you guys
hurry up.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you guys do a little bit more of the talking as we go through this.
Great, you're gonna let DK do more talking. What are we, a glutton for punishment?
You really are killing the show, aren't you?
Yeah.
Next
How do you
up,
stop DK from talking? That's what we have to figure out.
Next, we have the junior heavyweight champion and the new champion, Colby Corino, defending against Jack Cartwheel.
That's one way.
Dang. I don't think he's coming back. All right. Well, when he comes back, we'll bring him back. This matchup was a really fun. So how do I put this? I know there's a lot of people out there who call like cruiserweight wrestling flippy dippy. They don't enjoy it. They say so many negative things about high flying wrestling, the high impact wrestling, and it's honestly some of my favorite style of wrestling. And watching, Jack Cartwheel the night before, I started thinking like, the only person that would be able to keep up with Jack Cartwheel in that ring was Colby Corino. I know firsthand, Jaden, how good Colby Corino is in the ring. He's someone that you've literally had on your events.
I don't want events.
Excuse me, on dog associated events that you helped out on. Pardon my French. Tell me what you think about Colby Corino, and I'll be right back. I just got to change my battery real quick.
All right, the show's all about me now, so I'm going to talk about how great I am. Anyway, Colby Corino is a very, very good talent. He never really truly got his dues, I think, possibly because of that bad mustache. But Colby Corino is a very talented wrestler, and something I knew kind of early. He has something special. I think his size has always held him down in other places, but now in the NWA as a junior heavyweight, I think he is definitely get to showcase what he can do. I was not expecting him to beat Kerry Morton, I'm not going to lie, but if they only have him for a short time, I guess maybe they're going to try to get as much out of him as possibly can, and he's going to elevate himself in the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Championship. And apparently this match against Mr. Flippy Dippy guy, as Jay called him, is really good.
I didn't necessarily call him Mr. Flippy Dippy. I just hear that's what people call that style of wrestling. I actually thought it was great. I thought the matchup was great. Of course, it kind of ended on a little bit of a low note. Jack Cartwheel, who... Oh, great. I'll still keep talking. Jack Cartwheel, who, even though we've seen... I've seen a couple of times. Most recently, I was able to see him in Mexico City as part of the World as a Vampire. He looked terrific in that matchup. But then on Sunday night, he had the unfortunate... sorry, I was trying to still look at the camera right. He had the unfortunate problem of when he went for that shooting star 630 rotational type move, his legs hit the rope as he was coming down, and it really did look like he planted his head in his mat. He appears to be okay. He appears to be fine, but kind of a scary moment in the Chase Ballroom. But we got another victory for our pal Colby Corino, another victory for the Corino family, and the legacy continues. I thought it was a good match, and I'm very interested to see on who he takes on first.
What are we going to see rest of our Cartwheel's family, like Little Joe Cartwheel and Big Hoss Cartwheel and Ben Cartwheel and Adam Cartwheel? They have that whole ranch they can run that also used to be a steakhouse.
Luthez has a conflicting idea, and I don't hate it, but he says that the NWA Junior Heavyweight title is Danny Hodges' belt. I want wrestlers more in the vein of Ivan Dragunov or Chad Gable going for it. The problem with that is, besides Rhett Titus, who on the roster could be that guy? Who on the roster could give you that pure technical wrestling for as our pal Luthez would say, Danny Hodges' title?
On the roster, I don't know, but what is what was his name? The former Ring of Honor champion.
John Gresham?
Yeah, what is Jonathan Gresham doing?
It's a good point. I don't know what he's doing. What about a guy like Ray Jazz? I know you're very high on him. Do you think he could be a good wrestler in a Danny Hodge style division?
Very much so. Imagine if the NWA Junior Heavyweight division, and you can include Colby, because Colby can wrestle too, but imagine Colby Corino, Ray Jazz, Rhett Titus, Jonathan Gresham. Imagine that type of division wrestling for the junior heavyweight championship. That would definitely be different, and we would set NWA apart. And they're talented enough, and they do enough in the ring that so he's in the witness protection program. Okay. So even the people like Big Chris Dog, who only likes crappy wrestling, would probably even enjoy it.
When they said that part of the reason they're doing that 225 weight limit was, because it wasn't going to look like, the junior or cruiserweights or whatever that, we're used to seeing. It could be bigger guys who are more mat based. And back in the day, I pointed out before, the junior heavyweight was the more technical title. The guys who could really, really, really wrestle were often holding the championship. Now, of course, that's what Munich liked for the heavyweight title, but even for the junior heavyweight title, that kept going. And I think it would be better. And here's the thing. I don't know that you have to go out and bring in people who are known to fill that. I think you need to go out and find people who are wrestlers and bring them in and build them up.
The problem is it's much, much harder to turn an amateur wrestler into a professional wrestler.
Well, I'm not saying find amateurs. I'm saying like on the indie scene, stuff like that. Find people that can wrestle.
Well, then that kind of takes
wrestle.
That kind of takes us back to a guy like Matt Vine, right? Like he's already on the roster, and he's not really a bunch of flips and dips. He's more of a mat technician. Now, personally speaking, I don't have a problem with a more high flying style of wrestling. In fact, that's my preference. But if we were trying to elevate the junior heavyweight division in a way that's more in line with Danny Hodge, I guess that would be a one way to do it.
Well, I mean, I think there have to be. You have to give the flippers their opportunity, so to speak.
Why?
Well,
I don't have to do anything.
I think there are some people out there who do the flippy floppy stuff that can wrestle. They just don't. It's kind of like watching Hulk Hogan pre-winning the title, or even a little bit after when he first won the title. He actually showed some wrestling skill. Go find him and Bob Backlund as in a tag team match before he beats Sheik. I mean, you'll see the guy do things that you go, oh, I didn't know he could, wrestle at all.
Did you guys watch that much against Terry Funk?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was way different than anything Hoagie did post that.
That was. And, look, he was smart. He figured out what he needed to do versus what he
figured out what he could do, the very bare minimum he could do, and still get over as well as he did.
Yeah. Because he was all about the electric charisma personality. Thank you, Billy Graham, again. So we're talking. And I mean, I do think there are pro wrestlers out there who can wrestle. Yeah, I'm like Jaden. It is hard to turn an amateur wrestler into a pro wrestler. And we've seen that with Gable Steveson, who nobody even knows his contract status anymore. They think his one match may have been his only match in WWE.
Yeah, Chad Gables and Greg Jazzes are and Kurt Angles especially, are way more of the outlier than the actual rule. Yes, Shelton Benjamin, but Shelton Benjamin is an athletic freak. And I guess if you think about it, so are the other three that we mentioned.
Yeah.
But, Brock Lesnar, while he was great, Brock Lesnar was like wrestling a bear even nowadays. he may be good at what he does, but your body felt every single second of it. And that's a lot of the problem that the amateur wrestlers have when they get into the professional wrestling is they do things too tense and too stiff and too impact and too hard and too just everything is just a struggle. And while I like seeing that in an amateur match, and I love seeing people being thrown around the air, it's not the greatest for your body.
Yeah, I mean, Jay and I trade clips of amateur wrestling where they're we see some flips.
Oh yeah.
I love the takedown where the guy literally just flips over the guy and takes him down. It's, what the hell? How do you even do that?
Yeah, we watch, and especially if you watch some of the Greco-Roman, some of the freestyle wrestling, man, because you get more points if they land on their back. And so you'll see guys trying to pick them up and turn and twist them so that they'll land on their back, and the guy's in midair, and as he's falling to the mat, he's turning and twisting so he doesn't land on his back. And it's just, boy, if you guys don't like amateur wrestling, you should be ashamed of yourselves.
You're watching the wrong amateur wrestling.
I guess.
I amateur wrestled for 4 years, and I wasn't very good at it.
Hey, by the way, I want to point one thing out here real quick. As all the little pansies are worrying about or boasting about or whatever, AEW drawing, paid fans, largest paid fan attendance, whatever, 81,000, 35 people. I'd like to point out that the University of Nebraska's women's volleyball team drew like over 92,000, and it's the largest to see a women's sporting event. They actually had it out on the football field, and it was paid. I mean, I don't know what the prices were, but the tickets were sold. So anyway.
Moving on, let's talk about the Women's World Television title match. Max the Impaler defending against Ruthie J. I don't know why Ruthie J got picked to be in this position. In fact, I feel like if I was booking Max and I was booking the women's television title, I think this match should have been over in about 30 seconds. And that's not to insult Ruthie J. I think she's a great wrestler. But at this point now, Max is your first non-binary NWA champion, your first non-binary champion of wrestling that I'm aware of. And I feel like Max could be that person to really just go on a tear right now. And if you're going to build a winning streak, you're going to build anything up, Max, I think, is the person you could do that with. And so I think this match should have lasted all of like 30 seconds. Max won. Ruthie J did get way more offense than I thought she should have, which wasn't a lot at all. Jaden, how do you feel about booking your secondary champion as a monster and not allowing that person to get any offense, or allowing that person to have all the offense?
You ever heard of Bill Goldberg? Yes. He was U.S. champion.
This is true.
You ever heard of the Ultimate Warrior?
Yes.
He was Intercontinental champion.
Yes.
Twice.
Yes. So I guess Nikita Koloff was the United States champion, the original Bill Goldberg.
So you're telling me there's precedent here?
Yeah. It could happen if you do it right. The building blocks are there. You just need the right architect.
DK, what did you think of the match, and what do you think of Max as the TV champion?
There's always a danger in putting championships on a monster, which is, how do you get the championship off the monster? And, it's one of the reasons you didn't put titles on Andre the Giant, because how are you going to get the title off Andre the Giant? It was one of the poor excuse reasons that the NWA didn't want to put the tag team titles on the Road Warriors, because how do you get the tag team titles off the Road Warriors?
See, the AWA did it right. The NWA did it wrong.
Right. And so I think Max themselves, excuse me. I'm not used to using the.
Hey, I respect you for trying.
Their gimmick is one that does go over better, but I don't like the rule of 7 in that it's 7. I would have liked 10 or something better, because I feel like now you kind of got to give her like 5 squash matches and then, 1 or 2 tough matches. I will say this, and we're talking about booking. We talked the other day about Terry Funk. Terry Funk won the U.S. title, held it for 2 weeks, and then lost it to Paul Jones, and then a month later went and won the world title. We saw a condensed version of that now. Kenzie automatically has a top challenger. Her and Max have already faced each other twice. They're 1-1. So, Max could very easily be the first women's TV champion to cash in.
To run the gauntlet? To run the gauntlet?
Yeah. And so, I think that would be cool, because probably keeps them away from each other for 3 to 5 months. And then you have that match and you go, well, the first match, Max destroyed her, but Kenzie managed to get a Kenzie cutter out of nowhere onto a steel chair. The second match, Max destroyed her for a while. Boy, Kenzie came back and looked like she was going to put it away before finally losing. So that was a well-booked match. I'm kind of sorry that we don't get to review it. I really liked that match. And so we have the thing. Somebody move the microphone.
Is it me or is it Jay? Do you know?
Okay, it sounds better. So if you both did it, thanks. I think it was Jay. That sounded like the normal Jay status.
Feedback?
Yeah.
It's Jay's electric personality. It messes with the audio equipment. All right, what I would do, I don't really know Max. I'm not paying attention. Honestly, I don't watch the NWA because I'm smart. But I would have Max completely destroy all 7 challengers, including Ella Envy and Kyle and the other Page and the other Page and Diamond Dallas Page and Ethan Page and Adam Page and the wrestler formerly known as Page. Huh?
What about Diamond Dallas?
Said DDP first. Oh. And the women's wrestler formerly known as Page. But I would have them just completely destroy everybody to rebuild that match. And that way we have not only the TV champion cashing in, but it is 1-1, and it is the rubber match. And Max destroyed everybody on the way, including the rest of Pretty Empowered. And that way there's a really strong story on there, and the match can be built up.
Our pal Dave Scooby wants to point out that Max will be touring Stardom for the entire month of October. We might not even see Max at the pay-per-view that's scheduled for October 28th in Cleveland, Ohio. More information will come from the NWA, but there's your date and place in Cleveland, Ohio. The next NWA pay-per-view. It's going to be like a Halloween theme. But Dave Scooby says, imagine Max doing a few TV title matches over in Japan. Now, I'm sure I would not be surprised if Max carries that title with them in Japan. But apparently, from at least the way that they handled Thom Latimer and before Tom, the Pope, I don't think that you're going those title matches will count outside of NWA Power towards that Lucky 7. So even if Max is defending the title on an independent show or in Japan, it won't have any bearing on Max Lucky 7 towards the Women's World Championship.
Does the Cleveland, Ohio pay-per-view have a name?
I think it's Okay, so I kind of avoid saying it because I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. Sam Hain?
Technically, that's probably what they're calling it, but it's actually SOM because people are ignorant. That's a shame because I would actually call it the Rock and Roll Hall of Pain, or maybe the Rock and Wrestling Hall of Pain. You know,
Is
that's
Dirk
what I would call it.
Benedict doing anything?
What was that?
Is Dirk Benedict doing anything?
From the A-Team?
Wasn't he also the manager of Roddy Piper and Haku? Not Haku, the Tonga Kid.
Yes, he was. Norman Smilak or something. No, not Norman Smilak. Something Smilak. Harry Smilak.
Polka Dot Pam wants you to know that they are pronouncing it the correct way. Jay is the ignorant one here, and I own that. I own that. That's the first thing I said is I'm not pronouncing it correctly. Mecha Wolf also here saying Salwen. Okay, so you guys, I don't know how to pronounce it. I will learn, much like I learned how to pronounce Chalmette, right? Chalmette, Louisiana. Pam's over there slapping her head going, Jay's an idiot. But yeah, I think that the pay-per-view is going to be fire. And first of all, you got Mecha Wolf listening to this podcast. He's watching you guys. I think it's pretty cool that Mecha Wolf is here. And soon, Mecha Wolf will be on the other side of the camera, and he'll join us. Not tonight, obviously, but hopefully in the very near future, he'll be on one of these episodes to talk some wrestling.
I have ideas for Mecha Wolf too if we ever get a chance. I'd like to see how the NWA do.
Well, say it. He's in the chat. Say it.
All right. I do think they should break up the tag team champ, but not in a Billy Corgan kind of way. I think they should still be team and partners, but also do some singles.
Oh, I agree.
Because I watched them both as singles wrestlers, and as much as I love the tag team, I think we're missing a lot as them as singles wrestlers too. So maybe like not break them up as in they're feuding with each other and they're no longer friends and they don't go give each other Christmas cards anymore and stuff like that. But separate them, and you're going to get two talented wrestlers. And I think Mecha Wolf is a little bit thicker, a little bit bigger. I think Mecha Wolf could actually wrestle for one of the singles championships, TV, or the national, or maybe even the heavyweight, and maybe build belt toward that. So I think that's something and Bestia, I think would be great in the junior heavyweight against Colby Carino. Not that Mecha Wolf couldn't too, but I figure Mecha Wolf has a little bit more size and can work in some of the bigger divisions, so that way they're not both going after the same championship.
I 100% agree with that, by the way. And again, not that I don't want to see them as a tag team, because we know they flourish as a tag team. They held the belts over 200 plus days. They are the longest reigning tag team champions of this new era, of the Lightning One era. They took the titles to Mexico. They took the titles to Canada. They took them to the UK. I mean, they literally, Australia, I don't want to forget that. They took the titles abroad like no other tag team before them. They really did so much for the tag team division. But I also feel like both of them are very competent in the ring, and putting Mecha Wolf in the TV title division, I think would be killer. Having that guy come out wrestle every other week in a 6:05 time limit, like that would be amazing. And then also echoing what you said, Jaden, seeing Bestia wrestle against Colby Carino, a credible junior heavyweight competitor. Like let's not take anything away from Bestia. It's not like he's the sidekick. They're both phenomenal talents. And
I wasn't meaning to say that at all. I just think Bestia, I always probably get that wrong. But I think I really want to see him in the junior heavyweight. I just see that. And again, the Mecha Wolf has a little more muscles, a little bigger, is a little more believable in the heavyweight division, in my opinion. I'm not saying the division's bigger or better than the other. I'm just saying one of the wrestlers is bigger than the other.
And I think one of the cool things about the NWA, specifically, there are times where you could pull apart a tag team if you need to have a legitimate, competent challenger for a title. And, if Colby gets on a roll and starts going through that junior heavyweight division, he might not be ready for a guy like Bestia. And likewise, whoever becomes the next TV champion, now that Thom is he made his intentions clear before the pay-per-view that he would be challenging the world champion. I really feel like either one of those guys could be a very, qualified contender for other championships, like you were saying, Jaden. So that's a good.
And what about Bestia versus if maybe if Bestia takes on Max Cartwheel? What was Jack Cartwheel?
Yeah.
You know, if Jack Cartwheel leaves the Ponderosa, imagine that high flying match bonanza that would be.
That would be fun. Mecha Wolf wants to remind everyone that they still have some business with the clowns, and that's true. So
when you guys going to be getting down with the clowns then?
Luthez says Arn and Tully, hello, in reference to having a really solid tag team do single competition. But yeah, I mean, just getting back to the point that we were making, I feel like both those guys would be good as singles or tag team. That's kind of the benefit of having La Rebellion on the roster.
Once they dispose of the clowns, get rid of that funny business. Then right now it gives the chance for Blunt Force Trauma to shine, and they don't have to worry about the former champions being in the tag team picture. Not saying they don't want those belts back, but they can go for some singles for a time, and then when they are ready, they would take those belts back.
This is true.
The other ray of what Nick Aldis was trying to say, but do it the right way.
Oh Jesus! You're not allowed to bring that guy's name up on this podcast anymore.
I could do whatever I want, and the good thing about it is I'm going to do it anyway. And anyway, you're the only one who didn't like him. I actually like him.
Remind me again who talks too much.
Yes, but I usually have intelligent things to say.
When?
Every time I open my mouth.
Who lies to you?
Speaking of,
well, I want. It's time for therapy now because
are you telling me what I just said? Where am I lying? Where did I lie? Tell me where I lied and anything that I suggested.
Where didn't you?
Everything I suggested. Where did I lie? Everything I said was gold.
You have something intelligent to say every time you open your mouth.
I left the room because Mom and Dad were fighting.
Oh, we're sorry. We'll go back to picking on you. That's more fun.
Yeah, it's actually way more fun and easier.
Wasn't there a pay-per-view we were watching?
Yeah, well, we had a perfect segue. Mecha Wolf is in the chat. He told me how to say the pay-per-view correctly. Saw when, right? Saw when, right? Am I saying it right now? Saw when?
Saw when.
All right. So perfect segue because the next match was the Brothers of Construction versus La Rebellion with Vampiro. Of course, we were Violent J has been managing the Brothers of Construction now since the 75th anniversary. So we get to see Violent J in the NWA audience. There were some juggalos in the crowd. I hadn't seen a juggalo at a wrestling show since early 2000, but they were there. They were repping the face paint and the Junkos and the Fago, and it was happening. This match was pretty intense. I felt like there might have been. I thought there would have been more, quote unquote, funny business in this match, but it was pretty straight up. And you didn't like that one? I thought it was funny. One of the things that I kind of bother me, because I saw it more than once over the course of the weekend, was the balloon popping in the face. Like, I know it's a balloon pop. It's not really a weapon, but like, if
that sounds like a cheap pop to me.
What's that?
Sounds like a cheap pop to me.
It is. If it pops in the dude's eye, I mean, that could be a foreign object. That could blind somebody, for crying out loud.
Not if the balloon was made in America.
The other thing about the match was there was a spot towards the end of it, and I blame the referee on this one because he saw Vampiro getting ready to get into the ring and turned around to see it, then turned around to look away, even though Vampiro was already climbing into the ring. I thought, come on, man. Go over and yell at Vampiro real quick to get him out of the ring, and then go get distracted. That's fine. It's just that spot, I felt like, and what was such a really, really good match, the referee slipped up, and I felt like that was kind of hopefully maybe you guys watching on pay-per-view didn't see what I saw, but like it was right there, front forward, right in front of me, and it was hard to miss. And I was like, there was such a good match up until that point. Yabo and what's his name? Yabo and Rufo. Yabo and Rufo, I feel like really do work their asses off in those matches, even though it's shtick, it's silly, it's goofy. I still feel like they're putting on a really good wrestling match when they're wrestling and not hamming it up for the crowd. And then, I think the world of Bastia and Mecha Wolf. So I feel like every time you see them in the ring, you're going to see a really good match. I felt like it was a good match up until that point. DK, you were watching on pay-per-view. What did you think of this one?
I enjoyed this one far more than I expected to, which I didn't expect to enjoy it at all. So enjoying it any bit was more than I expected to. But yeah, I thought it was really. I thought the match between the participants was really well done. You pointed out the problem with the referee at the one point, and there were a couple times there. Again, we'll go back to what I said earlier. A little bit of sloppiness, but not enough to keep me from enjoying it. I enjoyed the match, and I don't like clowns, and I don't like juggalos or gigolos or
Who called Scorpios or whatever you're trying.
or whatalos or anything like that. So I was happy to see them get literally pie-faced.
I don't know what problem you have with Diamond Dave Lee Roth, but I thought it was funny them bringing the pie out, and literally Violent J got cream pied right on national television.
Jay, you know what that means, right?
It means he got a bunch of cream in his face from a pie.
Yeah, that's not what it means. So anyway.
There's a link in the chat if you guys want to see the video. If you didn't get to see the pay-per-view, you can watch.
Please use the link and do not use Google to look it up. You'll get a completely different type of website.
He was pie-faced, okay?
Sure. Check out La Rebellion, pie-facing, Violent J. Violent J gets covered in cream pie. And check it out. I think it's a great clip.
All right. Will Meckwolf and Bestia do any chicken hunting?
What?
Okay, let's move on.
Who's going chicken hunting? We's going chicken hunting.
I'm not a juggalo. I don't know what any of this stuff means.
That was their actually only charted song. You really didn't know it?
No, I honestly didn't. Look, I'm not an ICP guy at all. I think it's pretty cool that ICP had spent so much time in the world of wrestling. Like, of course, we had them with the oddities in the WWE. I think they showed up in ECW, but I don't know for certain.
They were in ECW. They were in WCW. They were in Impact. They were in.
Well, they worked with Vampiro in WCW, and I think that's kind of where the storyline is kind of was birthed. They were the Deadpool, and it was kind of a cool thing where like Vampiro was the mastermind, the ICP were kind of his minions, and the Great Muta was a part of it. And I even won the tag titles. And I remember that theme song I thought was just the best. And it was I really liked that song. I thought it was so cool. But then again, I was also like 21 years old. So that kind of music I think was supposed to appeal to me anyways.
ICP is all right, but they're no Tool.
I'm a huge Tool fan. But you guys know that.
And you're a huge Tool.
Next up, we get the National Heavyweight Championship match. Silas Mason defended against Jordan Clearwater. This was again, we talked about it last week. I really felt like I feel like putting the belt on Silas Mason in the way that they did was a little lackluster. And I'm a huge Southern Six. I've been preaching the Southern Six. I've been excited to see what's up next for the Southern Six. Silas Mason came on this podcast. We have a good relationship. I like him a lot.
Give him a T-shirt.
I did give him a T-shirt. But I was very surprised. I bought their T-shirt too, by the way. But I was very surprised that he won the title. I felt like that was kind of lackluster. But if he is your champion, he is a good dude to have holding that title. He so Bam Terry Gordy-esque, right? He looked so good with that belt. And Clearwater, who's has become this huge baby face almost overnight. He looked good in defeat. It was a good 10-minute match story of having, the first title defense from Silas, Clearwater lasting, 21 other men to get to that matchup, and then just not having enough to get the victory. And of course, the thrill ride is what ends it. And we have a retention with Silas Mason, the Thrillbilly. Jaden, you've been aware of Thrillbilly for a while now, and now that he's without Pollo, he's with the Southern Six. Do you feel like what's next for him?
I think the Southern Six is probably holding him back, and he needs to be on his own too. Well, I agree that it may be something behind the scenes that could be friendship. I think Pollo should be his own man right now, and just needs to dominate and completely say. Right now, he's a paper champion. It sucks because of bad booking, but right now he's a paper champion. But you know what? He's a damn good wrestler, and he can everybody forget all about that and just start dominating and open up a can of kick butt. I'm trying to get demonetized, and just be a straight on Terry Gordy, go jump in the ring and go bam bam and slam all those guys down to the ring. And Jordan Clearwater, I had a fan, not a big fan of his 1970s little girl poofy round bowl haircut thingy he's got going on, looks like something out of He-Man from the 1980s. I don't know. The hair, it just doesn't work right now.
Well, I think the goal is the hair's supposed to be slicked back, but I think through the match it kind of just, like you said, He-Man's out. But I'm excited to see what's next. I don't necessarily agree with you on that one, but that's not a bad take. I don't think Silas Mason needs a Southern Six as much as the Southern Six needs Silas Mason.
And that's what I agree 100%. And honestly, they're not doing the Southern Six right. They have not made this faction in any way, shape, or form anything else than the parts that it's made of. It's not a whole. And Silas Mason right now is the champion, and he's the only champion they have right now. But they just don't feel like the booking isn't made and done well enough to find that this group is a cohesive group enough where I feel that they're a true faction. They just feel like a bunch of individuals that are just hanging out.
I would say, because I am privy to what happens, I'd say stay tuned. DKM, okay. What did you think of the match, and what do you think about Silas Mason as the national champion?
I'm kind of taking this attitude towards things, which is why I put it's a new era on my thing. Not the way I would have put the title on him. They've done it. Okay, done. So I want Thrillbilly to be the national champion. To have a chance to do something with Thrillbilly. Again, he's somebody who we've talked about. He does the small things. He knows how to get himself over. He knows how to do those small things right. He's an old throwback. I appreciate what he can do. With Jordan Clearwater, you got something. He's somebody that a lot of people think that as he matures in this business, and I've actually seen some of the maturing, even in the body.
Just not in the hair.
Yeah, not in the hair. I agree with Jaden. He needs to change his hair. But just that as he matures, has the potential to be, a star, a future star. Thoroughbilly Pollo, they're kind of like breakout stars. The NWA can keep their hands on them, even though they're not together. It doesn't matter. They're two people who are breakout stars that the NWA can keep their hands on them. They could help launch into this company that Billy talks about. This major company. Clearwater's the other way. They stopped using him as a goof. They are presenting him in a more serious way. They need to slow feud these two guys. And what that means is, okay, they've had the match. We don't need an immediate rematch, but we kind of need some revisiting every now and then between the two. And the example I'll give is what we saw with the women's title. Let's not forget an extremely young Kenzie Page was one of the first major challenges to Camille.
Yeah.
I mean, almost to the point where somebody on this podcast wearing a ball cap got tired of seeing the match.
I did.
And he wasn't alone. And but you know, that's come through 813 days later. You know, it's come its full circle. And I think if you do something with Jordan Clearwater and Thrillbilly, you know, let's give the national title some stability. It's not been the most stable title since
ever. Since Lightning One era.
Yeah. And so let's give it some stability. Let's keep the title on Thrillbilly for a while. And I know Scion held it like 200 and some days, and it started off real good, but then kind of faded at the end. But Scion didn't have that character.
Or upside.
Did not have the charisma that was needed. And he never connected to the fans in the way that Thrillbilly does, face or heel. And so let's leave it on Thrillbilly. But every now and then, Clearwater needs to kind of be somebody that, you know, wants that title and pops up for title opportunities. I think that's something you could book even on non-NWA shows that fans would be interested in seeing.
Well, and the thing about Jordan Clearwater, and, you know, this is someone who's watched that maturation process that you were talking about earlier. Like, it all was laid out in front of me. A lot of it happened in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and United Wrestling Network. But I do feel like this guy is becoming something bigger than what he was. I really feel like he was a great first opponent for Thrillbilly Silas Mason. I hope that list continues to grow. You know, I know that, you know, he wrestled against Kratos and Odinson for that championship. I hope that one of those guys get an opportunity to challenge for it later.
Both.
I know that
both of them.
Yeah, both
not
of them.
at the same time, but one at a time. But yeah,
right. That's kind of what I meant. And then, you know, guys on the roster that haven't had a whole lot of things happening with them. Somebody like Adonis, who we've mentioned, like, you know, obviously I wouldn't do it today, but maybe down the road, Adonis is a guy who can get back and maybe make a challenge for that title. Maybe Jax Dane could be a guy that, again, would make sense in a matchup. Maybe Jay Bradley, sans the Fixers, could get a shot at
even Wrecking Ball I could see working.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, and that's the thing. Again, going back to what we were talking about earlier with Bastia and Mecha Wolf, there are plenty of guys on this roster who make sense as single competitors and tag teams. And I know, like, look, I'm not trying to break everybody up, but
that's Billy Corgan's job.
Yeah, but every now and then, I think it is, you know, it would be fine to see, you know, Mecha Wolf challenge for the TV title, Bastia challenge for the junior title, you know, Jay Bradley challenge for the national title. Dave Scooby brought up Brady Pierce. I thought Brady Pierce was going to win the 20-man over the top rope battle royal. So absolutely Brady Pierce. And not for nothing, and I'm not trying to stir the shit here, but when Silas was on the show and I asked him about Brady Pierce, he didn't have a whole lot of nice things to say about him. So maybe that's a kind of match that could set some things off. Maybe a Dak Draper, maybe a Mims. You know, there's lots of opportunities here. And this roster is deep enough that some stars can start emerging now. And it's crazy for me to say this because it's all we're talking about is one guy being different in the locker room. The world champion is different. But I feel like there's so much opportunity for everyone on the roster now.
All right, may I bring up a point?
No.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it anyway. I wonder, and I'm not privy to what's going on, so maybe my opinion will change, but I think it's time that Silas Mason drops a Thrillbilly nickname.
No,
it's too babyface. It is 100% a babyface. And again, I'm not privy, so maybe my opinion will change when I watch. But if you're going to make him Terry Gordy, why don't you just make him Silas Bam Bam Mason or something maybe more on that line? I think the Thrillbilly name is a little too babyface, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe when I watch it, my opinion will change. But it's not a serious badass kicking heel name. Could be a good badass ass kicking babyface name, but I don't think it works as a heel name as much.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see on that one. I don't have a good answer for you.
Yeah, well, I think sometimes it's also where you put your focus.
Yeah,
because when Thurbilly first came out, he was more heelish than babyface. But I think when he's a face, if you focus on Thurbilly, that works. And when he's a heel, if you focus on Silas Mason. So, in other words, he's Thurbilly Silas Mason, but when he's in the ring and the commentators are referring to him, a face, the Thurbilly's doing this, Thurbilly's doing that, whatever. But when he's a heel, that's when you bring in the, Silas is being sadistic or, whatever. And so, yeah,
so you've got two people who totally disagree with you, Jaden. And
they're probably right, and they have the right to be wrong. But you think about it though, like the Thurbilly name, that is 100%. See, it worked initially because it was kind of like a white trash redneck thing that he kind of can get away with. But now I don't see him that when I see Thurbilly. I don't see that.
I see that. I see the Southern Six being a bunch like a fraternity of like rednecks.
Do you?
I don't.
Because Kerry,
I don't at all.
Kerry comes off as a frat boy. Like that's when I see him, I very much get that frat boy vibe. I get Alex Taylor. Like I kind of look at this as like a fraternity, like in the South. That's not so much like a.
You apparently never been to West Virginia, then.
No, I haven't.
Silas might fit in the West Virginia. I don't know about the other two.
I'm looking more like Tennessee Volunteers. I'm thinking like Nashville. I'm thinking like you've got Kerry, who's the arrogant prick. He's the quarterback of the team. You got Alex Taylor, who's the talented wide receiver, and then you've got. Do you remember watching Revenge of the Nerds?
Yes, I mean, if you're gonna call him Ogre.
He's ogre, isn't he? Like he's a better ogre. He's a more intelligent ogre, but he's an ogre.
I don't know. For some reason, I always thought of Ogre as Hacksaw Jim Duggan, but
either way, if he yelled out "nerds" when he saw the Freemans, would you bat an eye?
I mean,
yes, because that's inappropriate nowadays. Now they're loser Americans.
Right. I think. I hate saying this since we already know about with the movie and stuff like that. But no, if they just leave the Southern Six down to these three, then I think you're gonna have to compare to
the Freebirds.
The Freebirds or whatever. And so you got Kerry, who's the
Michael Hayes,
who's the charismatic one, the talker,
the one that you want to kick his ass, but then you have to get through Thurbilly first,
right? And
then poor Freeman's going to be the Buddy Roberts who actually gets his butt kicked.
Yeah,
Taylor, sorry.
Yeah, Alex Taylor. And yeah, I mean that was basically how I summed up. The only thing is Thurbilly's more charismatic than Gordy was most of the time, but Gordy always had Hayes, and you just weren't going to top Hayes. But Hayes wasn't necessarily. A lot of people have said, Michael Hayes wasn't necessarily the best wrestler in the ring.
But he was the one everybody wanted to see get killed more than anybody else.
He's the one who you wanted to see get their ass kicked. Buddy Roberts was the one who got his ass kicked instead of Hayes.
Yeah.
And you just described this team. Alex Taylor is the one that gets his ass kicked. Everyone wants to see Kerry get his ass kicked, and Thurbilly's the one out there kicking ass. He's the equalizer. So,
and so I mean, I think you go with that mix. I think that's the mix that you make.
Then they shouldn't be the Southern Six. If there's three of them, I get all right. That's funny because there's three and there's like Southern Six. Just call them the Redneck Wrecking Crew or something else.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
All right, let's move on because we've got 3 more matches and we're past the 2-hour mark. So next up, we have the World Tag Team Title match between Blunt Force Trauma and Knox and Murdoch. This
What's
was
that tag team name that it again? The Mercs and Nana. Yeah, Knox and Murdoch.
Now this is a matchup that you know, I kind of feel like when we were making our predictions here, we kind of felt like they were telegraphing that the tag team champions would change on night number 1. You got Blunt Force Trauma defeating Mecha Wolf and Bestia La Rebellion. In our predictions pre-show, I had Blunt Force Trauma retaining these titles. You both had Murdoch's winning the belts. I was right, haha. But more importantly, I feel like this was a very smash mouth type of match. I felt it was really, really good. What did you guys think of this match? DK, tell me, like, was this the match you were hoping for between these two?
Yes. In fact, for keeping the title on Blunt Force Trauma, I thought it was exactly the match it needed to be. And especially Aaron Stevens, interfering at the end and whatever. Look, I think Murdoch's versus Blunt Force Trauma is money if booked right. And my fear is that we'll have another Law Rebellion versus Hawks RE type thing where they don't know when to switch the title. I'd always said, I go, whether they kept the belts 2 days or 2 months or whatever, those titles should have changed hands and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. I'm just going to say New Orleans, everybody deal with it. And so, those titles should have changed hands in New Orleans. And we would have watched that building fall apart if that had happened.
Well, and to kind of echo what you're saying, when they won the Crockett Cup tournament, heck, let's go back even further. When they became a tag team, remember the genesis of that was Knox was the one who attacked Trevor as world champion. Remember, and one or two of his title defenses were against Mike Knox, and the genesis of that becoming a group as a tag team was all about they had 2 big wars, and then Knox turned on Cardona, and Trevor came out there to save him, and that tag team was, again, this is one of those things where like you have to give Billy credit. If this was his goal to make this tag team a desirable tag team, nobody liked Mike Knox when he came to the NWA. Not one person was like, hell yeah, we got Mike Knox on the roster. Nobody
Even Mike Knox's mama hated it.
And they built it up in such a way over the weeks where, like, okay, Knox doesn't really change that much as a wrestler. His style's almost identical. It's just you put him with a very motivated Trevor Murdochs. And now you got this tag team who they went through the Crockett Cup. The crowd popped hard when they hoisted those Crockett Cup trophy up, right? The fans bought into it. So the fact that they did not switch those titles on Sunday night means that there's more to do. There's more to build up to, and there's more tickets to be sold, because if Murdochs are to become tag team champions at some point in 2023 or in 2024, the fans are going to go ape shit for it. And they built it up in such a good way. Like, we saw the genesis of it. You know what I mean? We saw the beginning of that tag team, and we'll see it all the way to its fruition, I think.
See, I think you're giving Billy Corgan too much credit.
Maybe.
I think the Murdochs and Mecha Wolf and Bestia and Thrillbilly and everybody else aren't getting over because of Billy Corgan's booking. I think they're getting over despite Billy Corgan's booking. And I think that's what's happening. And Murdoch's I was not a Mike Knox fan. I didn't even like it first when they started teaming, but they grew on me, much like all that mold that grows on DKM. There's something about it. They just have something special. And I think it is Murdoch, his energy right now is different than it's been in a long ever in the NWA, pretty much except for maybe the feud with the man who should not be named, apparently, Aldous. And
You could say his name.
I was going to do it anyway, you know it. But he has energy now, and I think it's contagious, and I think it affected Knox, and they have a fever, and there's not even cowbell is going to be the prescription to help them. Even though they should be coming out with cowbells, now I think about it.
That's fair.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Doom 2.0 versus the West Texas Rednecks. I think this is something we should possibly see. Now I'm upset I never got to see Doom versus the Doc and Gordy.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like what we're getting here in a way. Can we move on to the women's championship match?
Yes.
I'm sure we could.
And a move that I don't think anyone could have predict. Kenzie Page goes the gamut with Max, loses the title, but jumps into the Burke Invitational to not only win the Burke Invitational, but cash in the next night, to meet Camille, who was women's world champion for 800 plus days, almost unheard of. Puts an end to the one time, the Brick House, puts an end to all of that. And now Kenzie Page is your women's world champion, wins with obviously that match was pretty intense. It went back and forth. Kenzie, one of the things that I'll say about Kenzie is she went out there fearless. She went right up to Camille and slapped her right in the face and said, "Bring it." And I felt like that was very telling of the kind of competitor that Kenzie Page is, because, but prior to that match, I'd have said, no way is Kenzie going to win. I sat there and thought, there's no way she's going to win this match tonight. No way that Camille loses to Kenzie Page. She goes out there, smacks her right in the face and says, F you to everybody who doubts me. That match goes on. And of course, Kenzie looks for the quick route. She pulls down the turnbuckle. Didn't go to it right away, but eventually knows Camille well enough that knows that Camille's going to go for that spear, and sidestepping that spear is the best way to get Camille on her back, and does so. And essentially that's the move that changes the direction of the match. And Kenzie gets the victory after a very hard fought battle. You have to tip your hat to
play that clip again with the meow.
Yeah, tip your cat to the 800 plus days of Camille as women's world champion, but then also tip your cat. I'm trying to find the clip right now.
You said cat like 5 times now.
Right, that's right.
This is pathetic.
To Kenzie Page for winning that title, thus making the fabulous, pretty empowered hold all the gold. I mean, obviously they don't have the TV title, but they have the World's Championship. They have the Tag Team Championship. Kenzie Page is now a Grand Slam in the NWA because she's held every women's championship there is. I guess you don't call it a Grand Slam, you call her a Triple Crown.
Triple Crown, yeah, because there's 3 of them.
So thoughts on this one, DK?
Wow. This is how you do it.
This is how you do it.
Exactly. I loved how they set this up, how they did it, who won. I was talking earlier. Kenzie, of course, was an early challenge for Camille. I really thought they might put Camille over 900 days or however long Jazz held the title. I thought they might be looking to surpass that. But I knew the moment Kenzie Page walked out for the Burke Invitational. I knew she was going to win the Burke Invitational. I knew she was going to win the title. Knew it 100%. And Jay knows this because I said it. I told him. And I think back to and if you really thought about it, you probably thought this should happen the way they did it, which may be why nobody had any faith that it would. But yeah, perfectly done.
I think one of us actually said that too, didn't during the our predictions that this is how it should happen, so it probably won't.
Right.
I don't recall any of us mentioning Kenzie in that battle royal.
Who did we say was going to win the battle royal?
So when it came to the Burke, I had an outside hire. You had MJ Jenkins.
I just said that because I love the name.
That's why I said it that way. And then DK had where did he have it?
That's CJ.
Yeah, Christy Jane. That's right.
But I knew it, and she needed to, and she did, and that was everything. And I'll tell you one thing: Kenzie's got she's got big shoes to fill, because let's be honest, at most pay-per-views, Camille has top match. And including the 74, where even Billy Corgan agreed with me that the top two matches were Camille's.
I was with a huge Alliance group contingent. We were there. We were sitting front row for night 1, night 2. We were in the second row. And Tim's wife, Raluca, the Reluchador, who occasionally pops on here, loves both Camille and Kenzie, and said, like, I can't choose who I want to win this match. But as we left the arena, she says, now the NWA is in trouble because they had Camille to bail them out on all those pay-per-views, because Camille always had either the top match of the night or one of the best. And now Kenzie has to step up. And I don't know if Kenzie can do what Camille did. It's going to be interesting to see it. It's going to be interesting to see what Kenzie brings to the table. She had a fantastic run as TV champion. Now is her time to prove it. I'm not sure what happens with Camille going forward, but Kenzie, she's your women's champion.
Yeah, I know that she had been picked to play, was it June Byers in a movie?
June Byers.
But I don't know exactly if that production is in any way tied to the Hollywood strikes, or if it's totally independent.
I think they had finished shooting. I think they were done.
Oh, you think? Okay. So
Yeah.
I didn't really know what was going. And some are completely independent and they're still shooting and everything like that. But maybe she'll take some time off and heal. I would imagine she's got to be a little bit beat up after all this time, especially from those 2 nights. And
well,
I don't know what her contract status is, but I hope she sticks around.
Traditionally, the contracts expire at the end of the year, but you don't know. We don't know, and hopefully, this isn't the end of Camille. She does have appearances at the TV taping, so I don't think anytime soon we're going to see a absence of Camille. And who knows, maybe there's a bigger program in the works that we're just not aware of. That brings us to the main event. I see we have our very own Tyrus defending the 10 pounds of gold. Tyrus put his career on the line. His children walked him out to the ring. This was for the big prize, the 10 pounds of gold bull rope match with EC3, a guy who's been in his corner and a guy who's been standing in the ring against him. This was the match for all the marbles. Ringside, there were VIP seats that were sold for Tyrus. When I walked into that venue on night number 1, an elderly couple behind me said, is Tyrus wrestling tonight? And no, he'll be here tomorrow. Oh, we got both nights, so we're good. He was there. He had a huge crowd following. I don't know how well that came across on TV.
There's a lot of buffets that are loving Tyrus. That's why. He's put many of their kids through college, whether they have pronouns or not.
There was a huge contingent there rooting on Tyrus, and it was surprising, shocking even. And they were giving out chains or the action figures or whatever, but his group was there. There was a strong Tyrus contingent. The people in front of me were Tyrus fans. The people behind me were Tyrus fans. I felt like I was in enemy territory rooting for EC3. In fact, the guy was so wild about Tyrus, his hand hit me in the head. I turned around, looked at him. I'm sorry. Anyways, the match was a lot more intense than I thought it would be. And to be quite honest, I feel like at the very least, Tyrus went out with effort. I don't feel like he mailed that in. He could have easily mailed it in. He went out there. He took a couple of pretty big bumps during that match. EC3 really got the brunt end of the punishment, of course. For what it wasn't a bad match. Ultimately, what it means for the NWA is so significant. But for Tyrus's last match, I don't think it was an awful way to go out. Post-match, he celebrates his defeat by acknowledging his family, acknowledging that this is a sport that he loves that doesn't love him back. I felt that was very transparent and very self-aware for him to say such a thing, something that I don't think I would have ever predicted Tyrus have the ability to say. Some of the NWA talents approached ringside, not all, but some, including Jordan Clearwater, who had somewhat of a mentor relationship. Murdoch was out there, the person that he feuded with over the world's heavyweight championship. It was kind of a feel-good moment, even if you didn't like Tyrus. I thought it was a perfect way to end the night, a perfect way to say goodbye to that era of the NWA, and a great way to move forward. Jaden, I know you're not a Tyrus fan, but did you think that was the right way for him to go?
I personally would have liked it better out of a cannon.
Shit.
But
what cannon is going to hold that?
What was that?
What cannon is going to hold that?
The ones on the USS New Jersey? That's a big guns. Those are super calibers on there. But anyway, what I'm thinking is hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more. What'd he say? Or another one that would work is oh crap, what's the other song?
Sha-na-na-na.
Sha-na-na-na. Hey, hey, hey.
Goodbye.
Bye. Yeah,
that's the other one.
That'll work. You know, I hope we don't have any royalties. But
God, I hope not.
Fair use.
Yeah, that he just honestly don't let the door hit you where the 10 superpower split you. You know, goodbye, good riddance. Thank you. Something, 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 something. Trademark. Jim Cornette statement.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take as harsh of a tone as Jaden.
He's going to pick a harsher tone.
No. Maybe. No. Well, and again, this is where I'll leave the past in the past. He wasn't my choice. He wasn't a good choice. Like somebody that you were flashing up there said, I don't blame him per se. Billy booked him. I know one of the reasons towards the end that he wasn't defending was that he was having health issues and everything. Okay, you know, he had a long career. He's had his time. He's had his day. He had his championship. Wish you all the best in your future endeavors. And I wouldn't mind if he stuck around and did commentary. But you know, his time has passed. EC3 is here now. I think EC3, I sent this to the other Alliance guys yesterday. I think EC3 is going to be the champion that a lot of people thought Matt Cardona was going to be.
Yes.
I think EC3, he's booked in a lot of different places. I think he's going to take the title with him. I think he's going to go places as the NWA champion. I think he's going to be presented in a more serious way, not having matches with Jordan Grace, or not doing some silly stuff that he did in some of the other promotions. And, a lot of places he didn't take the belt. A lot of places he wasn't billed as NWA champion. He was on Impact at the same time. And you never knew he was champion. And even some of the other indies, he didn't always have the belt with him. So, but I think with EC3, I think that when we've all been talking about Nick Aldis started this way, and then we kind of got upset when he never really recovered from that health issue thing that destroyed the world. And I think we have somebody now, and I don't think Trevor Murdoch wrestles a lot. I think that was part of the reason he didn't go, everywhere defending the belt. And so I think he basically wrestles from the NWA, and that's about it. And so I think now we got somebody who's going to be out there pushing the brand, pushing the name, and we'll have a world champion as we think of in NWA terms. So I'm very excited.
I actually just got a message. I heard a rumor that MC3 is going to be wrestling in New York City on November the 10th against Leo Sparrow and defending the NWA World title.
That's late breaking news. I haven't even heard that. So you're saying EC3 is going to be defending against Leo Sparrow in New York City?
On November 10th. Yes, I just got a message about if I wanted to go. I don't want to go into New York City, but I thought that was actually pretty interesting.
Polka Dot Pam says, I think the only better choice than EC3 would have been Chris Adonis. Me thinks you might be a little biased, Pam. I think
Pam wants Chris Adonis the job to her.
Probably. Tyrus says, Luke says, Tyrus was an experiment. Experiments don't always work out, but they only fail if you don't learn from the results. That's actually really profound, Lou, and I think that makes a hell of a lot of sense.
He was an experiment, though. I don't buy that. I've never bought that story.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it is what it is. I feel like they tried. They tried something. It didn't work out. I think we got the guy that we want as world champion. I haven't been this excited about an NWA World Champion since Cody Rhodes. I think Aldis's first run is the measuring stick of what you want for your NWA World Heavyweight Champion. And I feel like EC3 is a guy that can deliver. Will he? We'll have to wait and see. But you just heard Jaden say that he's got a date November 10th. We know that he'll defend that title on his shows at Exodus Pro. He's going to be defending that title at Saw When. Did I say it right?
Close.
Anyway, so we know that he is going to be a champion for the people. He's going out there. At the very least, if you listen to his promos, he doesn't sound like a boss. He sounds like a leader. He's trying to motivate the troops. And for that, I'm excited to see what's going to be next for the NWA. I'm excited for what's next with the 10 pounds of gold. And I was very happy with the conclusion of the 75th anniversary pay-per-view. It is now 2 minutes to the hour, so we're gonna wrap this show up. But hey guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining us in the chat. You guys make this show a lot more fun to do when you guys are vocal and active. Jaden, what's going on? What do you have coming up next?
Absolutely nothing. School. Working on my doctorate.
All right.
I want to be a doctor like Dr. Zirconium.
There it is. DK, what do you got coming up next?
Hopefully sleep.
All right. On Tuesday, you could join a fully rejuvenated J. Cal after your Labor Day weekend. Hopefully doing the pre-party for a new episode of Power, the new NWA Power Then, of course, Wednesday, you've got the other Alliance guys who will be talking MLW, United Wrestling Network, NWA, and much, much more. And then we'll be talking about what you see on Power 1 week from tonight. If you'd like to subscribe to the podcast, we're available on Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, anywhere you get your podcasts at. And until next time.
Clout. We're available on Clout.
No, I don't think we're on Clout.
Why not?
Tell me how to get there. Until next time, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are the